What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of On the Block. Joe Vivar, Igor Henriquez, December 22nd, 2020, and NBA season starting today. It's Christmas came a little
Christmas
early
season.
for us. But what we're going to do is we'll start talking about the Raptors, and then we're going to go through some power rankings from bottom to top and count down to who we think, or at least consensus what we think is like the top picks to finish first, and then going down to 30th in the league. But Igor, let's start with the Raptors. So OG Anunoby ended up signing that big extension, 4 years, $72 million.
Yep.
I want to say.
Got paid.
A lot of guys got paid. A lot of those guys got into
got
restricted free agency. Lonzo Ball was one guy that didn't. He's going to have to do the Fred VanVleet bet on yourself.
Papa Lavar's not going to like
season.
that.
But he's going to get paid too.
Eventually, you would assume, yeah.
So let's start with the OG. Do you like the contract?
I like the contract. And we had this discussion a little bit off camera. I'm on the, I guess the train that says that OG makes a significant leap this year. He from what I've seen in preseason and what I saw in the bubble, he's looking like a guy that can break out, and we're gonna get to that in a little bit. But I like the contract. I think at the end of the day, his ability offensively is basically where he needs to obviously advance his shot and his dribbling ability and his creativity. Defensively, I think he's already one of the better players in the league. I was going crazy in the bubble when Nick Nurse went real small and had OG playing center, which is, again, considering the Raptors' depth at that position, I could see Nick Nurse do more of that to close out games. But his ability even to guard bigger players, he's a great job in terms of steals, blocks, things along that nature. He can pretty much guard anybody on the floor. I wouldn't put him on Joel Embiid or anything like that, but anything reasonable, he does a great job. I think he's a good kid. Doesn't give problem. Not a problematic guy. A nice guy to cheer for. I got no problem with the contract, and I think he'll end up being a steal if he ends up developing the way he should. A lot of guys, I remember last year one guy. I remember one of the NBA writers claimed that OG was going to make the All-Star team. Now that's and this coming year. Now that might be a high-end ground in terms of the situation. But it could be relative. He could take a Pascal leap. We didn't think Pascal was going to take the leap that he did. So it's a reasonable possibility. He doesn't have certain things that Pascal might have in terms of dribbling ability and things like that. But his shot's definitely gotten better. That buzzer beater against Boston, that was no easy shot, that's for sure. So I have hope in OG that he can make that. He can be sort of like again, I'm comparable. I guess it would be defensively would be Kawhi, but I don't think he'll ever be offensively the way where Kawhi can do it. But more of a Kawhi Leonard light, where he can be like a poor man's version of Kawhi and be in terms of a 16 to 18 point scorer. That's really really good defensively.
One guy I just thought of that might also be a little bit high for him, but similar, somewhat kind of body and skill set. Ron Artest in his prime, maybe.
And again, Ron Artest was a part of a
Defensive Player of the Year.
He was a bit of a lunatic, which I don't think Lou.
No, but on the court, on the court.
On the court, well,
with that same type of game, maybe like
the Detroit fans or who remember Ron Artest.
Malice in the Palace.
Malice in the Palace. But yeah, I think, and again, if he becomes a Ron Artest, considering where he was drafted, that's a pretty solid.
I think
pick.
that's more realistic.
As long as he's not and again, Ron Artest wasn't a bad offensive player either.
But he was averaging 23, something like that.
Pretty good player with the Bulls originally, and again, he was known as a defensive stopper that was real tough. And if he turns into a Ron Artest and that ends up being his high point, you can't really complain for a guy where he was drafted
in the 20s.
Yeah, in the 20s
or something like that.
No issue there. But like I'm saying, I have. Again, he's got more to give than what he's been showing, and now again, it's another opportunity with you lose Serge. You lose Serge again. You're opening up more possibilities that you end up being more of a focal point in the offense, and see what happens.
Would you still say he's their fourth option though, behind I guess like Pascal, Kyle, and then Fred, and then OG, right?
Yes, I would say he's definitely the fourth option there. And again, I think when depending on the situation, you might injuries happen. He might be put in a more prominent role. And all the Raptors in general, like their bench, if they want to go back to that bench mob mentality that they had a couple years ago, that suited them well. There are a couple other guys that I'm looking like, from what I watched in the preseason, might be able to get in there and contribute quite a bit. We've been real impressed with the rookie. I think from where he was taken and from what I've seen, he's for the pick that they gave away, was it 29th or something like that?
I think it was 29 or
20. He's been one of the revelations of the preseason. So even if he can keep that up, and again, he's going to have limited minutes because he's battling guys for
Even
minutes.
like Matt Thomas. There's a lot of guys that
Yeah.
you get to see an increase in minutes this
Yeah.
year, right? Norm, the backcourt's
But
kind of
he's basically a Raptors player. He can shoot the ball quite well. He's very good defensively. So again, if the rookie can get some minutes in there, he might make some waves. But again, you've got to battle. Matt, you have Norm Powell, and then you obviously have Kyle and Fred at the guard spots already. So it's a bit
Watson, who they signed to
and I like Watson. Watson's
has
another
been
guy.
okay too.
And again, your boy from Montreal is going to have to make some maneuvers at the center
He's
spot.
going to get a lot more playing time too, right?
And again, he's a guy that he has had his moments where he's again, he can put it all together. Consistency. He can shoot. His blocks again. He's gonna have a much better year, I would assume, with the minutes that he's getting. He's just gonna stay out of foul trouble and things along that nature. And again, overall, Serge loss was the big one in my opinion. I don't think Mark had much left to give. I think he did his time here, and I wish him well with the Lakers. Serge is a big loss because I think Serge brought again. He was shooting the ball well. He was the rebounding. Now you replace him. See what happens with Baines. What do you get out of Len? What do you get out of Boucher? I would say that Boucher will be the backup center, and that Baines will be starting most of the games. But again, will it be a huge downgrade? I like what Baines did last year.
I think Baines is going to be good. I just want to see if he stays healthy too, because we'll get into some injury trouble. I think OG is going to play a lot of 4 at times because they don't have the front court depth that he can. Let's say Malachi Flynn reminds me a lot of Fred when he came in the league. Like a lot, he's showing a lot more right away than Fred did because maybe like the minutes that he's getting, even though it's preseason, but runs the pick and roll, plays good defense, shoots the 3 really well. Like the stroke looks really good. I'm interested to see how he kind of grows and if he can kind of have a Fred-like career, which would be incredible from that
29 spot. He's looking like he's going to be a player, and it's been pretty impressive. I don't remember the last time a Raptors rookie that was taken that late ended up being such an instant sort of head turner a little bit. I don't remember.
I want to say
Pascal took time.
I was going to say I think Pascal with the Raptors. I want to say that they started him. I think it was the rookie season because they started him and they sent him to the G League for a while and then they brought him back. That was Dwayne Casey.
But he never head turned right away.
No. And then the other guy was OG because he came back. I want to say January from the torn ACL, and they might have brought him off the bench for a bit, but he was still playing. I want to say 18, 20 minutes a game in his rookie year, and same thing, drafted maybe 20th overall.
Yeah.
And they said he was a lottery pick, but he tore his knee, so that's why he slipped. But okay, we'll talk about predictions for the Raptors later. Then I think we touch on the OG contract. Oh, I was just gonna say, like the contract, especially based on market value.
Yeah.
I don't know how much higher his ceiling can go, and also the contract. What would he have gotten if you play out the year? Like I said, if Pascal, Kyle, and Fred are still healthy, how many points can he average? I think 15 is a good number. And a realistic number, 14, 15, 16.
I'm hoping we're more around the 16 to 18 range, but 15 wouldn't be off.
You got to say Pascal's going to get you 22, Kyle's going to get you 18, 19, Fred's 16.
I mean, they were again the same thing as that last year. They were pretty injury ravaged for a lot of the time. I mean, I don't even remember how many games that starting unit played together because you had Kyle up for a little bit. You had Pascal missed a bunch of games when he got injured. The starting unit didn't have a ton of time together until later on in the year. So again, injuries are going to bite, and if he might be given an opportunity to be one of the offensive catalysts. Obviously you don't want to see people get injured, but again, Kyle's a little older.
They're going to monitor the minutes.
Again, things along that nature.
The other thing I was going to say about the OG thing, and I don't want to rain on anybody's parade. I think that 15, 16, maybe even 17, as the contract goes on, is a good number. I just don't think he's a guy that. And I said this before. They're just some guys. I don't know. Is he a guy that you're going to say? And we see that maybe Pascal, that might not be, at least in the playoffs, you're able to say, go get me a bucket because you couldn't when it mattered. But I think OG is more of a secondary off-the-ball player, and that's fine, a 3-and-D plus guy.
That's fair.
He'll get the rebounds, he does his reverse dunks. I just don't think that, the thing that's holding him back that I've said multiple times is the ball handling. And that takes lots of work and lots of time. Not to say that if you put it in, you can't see the results right away, but even with Kawhi, when he came in the league and you see what Kawhi's done now, that's one in, not a million, but it's a long shot. And is that possible? But, Kawhi's been in the league when he came to the Raptors 8-9 years, won a finals MVP before. OG's still young, he has the potential. I just, like I said, I think that where you got him, he's going to be maybe an all-defensive player, which would be incredible, and he has realistic potential to do that. Get you 15 points, hit open threes. I don't think you can ask more based on what he's giving you. And he's a good kid.
And again, that's the thing, the chemistry situation and so forth. you need lockdown guys, and it's something that the Raptors have had issues with for years in terms of having lockdown defenders on guys. I mean, OG was there, and I think they put him on LeBron in that rookie year a couple of years back. Obviously,
year, right?
yeah, that was a little.
He was a rookie too.
He's a rookie, right? So at the end of the day, that was a tough test for the kid. But I mean, if he ends up being all defensive and he ends up pitching in 15 for where he was drafted, that's perfectly fine. Like I said, I think that he might have a little bit of a higher ceiling, but again, time will tell.
And that's fine. And people thought that last year too. This year, I think if he is going to show it, this has to be the year where he's breaking out, because this is the opportunity.
And hopefully, again, he's had some injury ravaged years too. He missed, and you gotta hope he stays healthy, because he's had some bad luck over the years. I mean, he missed a good portion, if not, heck, it was more than half the season in the Kawhi year. Yeah, so he's had some really bad luck. So hopefully he can stay healthy and get a full season in there.
Okay, so that wraps up for the beginning of the Raptors. Anyways, let's go through the bottom teams and kind of just
run
through them quickly, because there's not much you want to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, and again, I think this has been the case the last couple of years. So 30th, we got over here the Cleveland Cavaliers. Quick on them. Again, what are you gonna get out of Kevin Love if he's injured or not injured? Andre Drummond ended up is still there. They got Sexton, Garland. They got some some talent that's making their way, but they lost Tristan Thompson. It's a full rebuild situation, and again, and what happens with Drummond and Love? Do they trade them for other assets afterwards?
Larry Nance is there still, like
Larry Nance.
Crowd.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I'm surprised that Drummond's still on the team.
He opted in. They didn't have a choice. It's like $30 million, right?
Yeah, and I get maybe he believed that he wasn't going to get that on the market. I think he's still a pretty solid player, but obviously, if they were healthy, it's definitely a heck of a front court, him and Love. But like I said, Love, again, can barely, I would say if he's lucky to play 50, 60 games, he's always injured doing something. And then again, there really isn't much there. Maybe Garland does some things. Sexton, he goes off every once in a while. But again, since LeBron left, it's been a catastrophe. Bad drafting, not much there. Going to 29, we got the New York Knicks, which I'm going to be interested in actually seeing one, because we don't know what it's going to be situated. This is a big year for Barrett. RJ's got to do something here. He's got to be in a situation where he has some steady improvements in regards to what he's doing in the Knicks. Again, I like Mitchell Robinson. He's a good, he's got to stay out of foul trouble. Again, big boards guy, block shot. He's probably one of the best in the league in terms of blocking shots. And again, I thought they did well with Obi Toppin. From what I've seen,
safe pick. He looks pretty good.
It was a safe pick. So there's some signs of hope. But considering the fact that again they just don't. And again, what are they going to do with Thibodeau? Thibodeau tends to be a guy that goes hard on the young kids, and then the young kids lash out at him. Is he the right coach?
This is probably his last chance.
You can probably speak on that. I mean, I think the Knicks should probably, again, I had higher predictions for them last year, but do I think they end up being the second worst team in the league? Probably not.
But a bottom 5 team.
But not in playoff contention now. Yeah. So I don't know if you have anything to add on RJ or.
I like Toppin. I think that he's going to be pretty good. Like, they always have that comparison of like Amari Stoudemire because he's so explosive and big. I like that. I don't know how good he can be, especially all the guys. Like, they have Knox, they have Ntilikina, all these guys they drafted that.
Ntilikina have been a bit of a bust for sure.
Well, he's another guy. So, like, I don't want to say similar to OG. In terms of defensively, they're both like incredible defenders, right? Just Ntilikina was really showing you nothing on offense.
Yeah, and
he's not a point guard.
And he's literally like, and again at the guard spot, even if you wanted to put him up at the point guard spot, he's third string right now behind Alfred Payton, Dennis Smith Jr. Then it's him.
Smith missed a lot of time last year too.
And again, Alfred Payton and Smith look like they're battling for that spot. And again, it's gonna be another year for Ntilikina that if he doesn't do much, like I don't know what he's going on to. What he's gonna have left in terms of afterwards, because I think he was pretty top 10,
top 7 or something like that.
That's a bad situation.
We're gonna get to this team soon, but again, it's very similar to that. Chicago drafted Chris Dunn, like top 5, and he's been very much the same player, right?
Yeah.
With more injuries, but like a defensive guy that hasn't really shown much.
Minnesota.
No, but I'm saying Chicago drafted him. Now he's gone, so I'm just saying the comparison's there. If you don't show anything this year, you're probably on to a next team. Chicago drafted Dunn. Now he's gone free agent to Minnesota.
Didn't Dunn get drafted to Minnesota?
Oh, and they drafted him.
And then they traded him for Jimmy Butler, right?
Sorry, he was in that trade, but he never played for Minnesota, and now he's in Atlanta. My mistake.
Oh, okay.
But he never played a game for Minnesota. He was with Chicago his entire career. Yeah, sorry.
No worries. In terms of, so you have that, and then we got to go to poor Dwayne Casey.
Oh my god.
Don't know. There isn't much there. Again, the Wood thing, the Christian Wood thing didn't make any sense to me. I thought he was one of their better players last year, and he was a young guy that was breaking out. No clue what they were doing with that.
They let him walk.
They let him walk. No breakout candidate. Baisley, a young kid that again might be able to make some waves. Blake Griffin's always hurt or punching somebody or doing something.
I didn't like that at all. I don't know how much we want to get into that, but like the Patrick.
Wood situation?
No, when he was fighting the center on the Wizards. I didn't like that. Like
Thomas Patrick, yeah.
Yes.
Thomas Bryant.
Thomas Bryant.
Thomas Bryant.
And he threw him to the ground, and then after he gets up, Brian, and you wanted to throw with him, we're like, at least get in his face, and Blake Griffin's there laughing. I used to be a Blake Griffin guy, but like, there's not one thing I liked about that, because Blake Griffin would not, I don't think he'd do too well in the fight. I know he's like a bigger guy, like Thomas Bryant's like 7'2", 260.
These antics are a little...
That's what it is, it's antics.
They are a little surprising, because I remember like when Blake first came in with the Clippers that first year, and I've told you this story before, and I may have said it
kid. Yeah.
Again, he was when he was first in there with the media, and again he had he was again first overall pick, dunking like crazy, and he was a complete showman. He was in his rookie year, he was one of the more humble kids or even people that I spoke to while I was doing the reporting. You would never, if you told me that kid, well, how many years, again, it's been a while.
Maybe 10, but yeah.
Yeah, and is what he is now, I would have never guessed it. The NBA,
money and fame,
the money
all
and fame changed his personality to becoming a little bit more of what he is now. He was not like that in first year, let me tell you. He was as shy could be, and he was as respectful could be. I mean, he wasn't a guy that had the number one overall pick. I'm better than you type attitude. But I guess playing in the league and being around the money, like you said, completely changed the kid. But it is sad to see, because at the end of the day, he had some. He had potential. He's not a great. He's not a great career.
Yeah.
He probably didn't reach the heights that many thought he was going to reach. But
Yeah, if he was healthy, could have been a Hall of Famer.
Sure.
Right.
Possibility.
But got
those
injured.
injuries, and again, those again, same with Zion with those dunking and the weight type situations.
Yeah.
So next up, the Charlotte Hornets, which will be interesting. I guess in my view, it's going to see what LeVar's kid, LaMelo, does. Again, from when I've seen the preseason, a creative kid that at the end of the day, if he develops well, could end up being one of the best passers in the league, without question. Much like, again, needs to work on his defense, without question. The issue there, and it's gonna come up, is there's obviously the situation there where he needs to get his minutes. Terry Rozier got paid big money. Now, obviously, what are they going to do with Terry if they trade him or whatever it might be? But if there's an issue there, you know who's going to be the first one to chime in. Is that
Pops?
Pops has been the guy to chime in. I think he went off on the mouth again the other day, saying that LaMelo could be Steph one-on-one, which wouldn't happen. One, because LaMelo doesn't.
He's
play.
still talking that.
Well, no. Well, first
back in the day.
No. This is the new. This is now his.
LaMelo. Now LaMelo can take Steph.
LaMelo can take Steph. Before it was Lonzo that is better than Steph and so forth. Now it's at the end of the day that would not happen, because at the end of the day, LaMelo, as much as he might be a solid player, his defense is non-existent. Steph would absolutely destroy him on that end of things. Though Steph's not a great defender, he can't shoot. He can't shoot at the levels. It's not going to happen. Anyways, that'll be the big showcase storyline. If what happens with the kid, how he develops. Again, from what I've seen, if he can improve certain elements of his game, he could be a big
he's not going to be a bust.
He looks like he's going to be better than his brother.
You think so?
I think so, because his creativity, and I think he's a better shooter, in my opinion, than his brother was at that stage. His defensive game, again, Alonzo's defensive game is better than LaMelo's. But in terms of the other aspects, in terms of passing creativity, I'll give it to LaMelo on that one. But again, that'll be the storyline. If is he going to clash with Jordan? That's what everyone's looking for, is that first major blow up, and then Michael comes out, tells him to be quiet, all that stuff, because we know Michael runs.
Well, that's the thing. Like, they got Gordon Hayward too. It's going to be interesting to see how he bounces back, right?
He's
going to miss some time.
Yeah.
And that contract, we know that they had to overpay in Charlotte in that market to get a guy. If he's healthy, which he's not already, very good player. Boston missed him. He's a great playmaker as well. Plays defense. Not the same before that catastrophic first injury. but still a good player. And then you have guys like Bridges that's still there, that decent player, probably similar to OG in terms of points per game kind of thing and body type.
I like Graham.
Devontae Graham, I was going to say that's another guy in the backcourt. So maybe you have to bring, I don't know who's better to bring off the bench. Devontae Graham as a volume shooter, Terry Rozier who can kind of hijack the offense. But I don't, like, maybe you put Graham with ball and then you bring Rozier off the bench to kind of like take it with the second unit.
That's an expensive bench player right there, but I guess we'll see.
What do? You start 2 point guards, or do you bring?
Are you starting LaMelo right off the bat?
I would think so. You took him second
overall. Throw him right out there in the five.
Maybe it's safer to put Rozier out there, see if he sets the house on fire first.
I would say that Then you have LaMelo develop against maybe the bench unit, secondary bench guys. Well, I guess we'll see what happens in the coaching. Well, these guys are going to need pretty much photo candidates when they're on the court. So Oklahoma got rid of everybody.
Wow, yeah.
It's basically Shea's team, and then you have other guys that they threw in there in terms of getting guys on there. If you ask me to name their entire roster or even the majority of their starters, I probably would have to look it up.
Adams is gone. Gallinari is gone.
And then they pretty much
Schroeder's gone.
Schroeder. They pretty much lost every starter that they had, minus Shea pretty much. So again, and that's Chris Paul, obviously. Again, this is a team that's obviously rebuilding. Tremendous, they could have a tremendous future with all the draft picks that they have, because obviously with that draft capital, I would assume that they're going to throw it up and try to get established players and not draft every single time. But obviously with Shea there, it's going to be Shea's year. Again, a guy that's going to carry the offense and so forth, and then they built a team around him, and it's his team. So I mean, us being Canadians and all, we'll obviously take a look at it. Will they be any good or any in playoff contention? Hell no.
No, I don't think they want to either. They'll be a bottom 5 team.
Bottom 5 team, develop it, and then use those draft picks and try to go from there. A little low, but I actually, Sacramento. I think they, with Fox and Buddy Hield doesn't really want to be there. You don't know what you're going to get with Bagley.
Neither did Fox, I don't think, and then they signed him to that $175 million, right?
And again, so Sacramento's really been in this rut for a long time, since those Peja Stojakovic and Chris Webber days, where they haven't really been able to play themselves out of or into playoff contention.
But it looked like a few years ago they were okay when they had Bogdanovich. They're like, okay, like this team looks okay. Not drafting Doncic is going to haunt them forever. You get Bagley instead, right? Same as Phoenix. But you see all that and you're like, especially in the West where every team got better, even teams like Phoenix who they're battling with to get into the playoffs, it's going to be a rough season for them again.
Again, there's too much. There's a lot of Halliburton's again should be a good player.
Yeah.
There's just too much depth in the West that again they're going to be in a lot of trouble in terms of really competing. Though again they have been knocking at the door, and then like really on those last stretches they tend to fall off. But again, I don't see with all of the depth. There are a lot of teams in the West based off some of the moves that were made that. Again, we'll get to it later, but there's a lot of teams that were gimmies last year that to make the playoffs.
Yeah, that are not.
The only team that really fell off of completely was Oklahoma, and then Houston's going through their drama, which we'll get to. But it's definitely not easy out west to even make the playoffs, because you have teams like Portland and stuff like that who are an 8th seed. Like they should be better than an 8th seed and based off the talent, but West is stacked. Let's go on through the Chicago Bulls. Again, Zach LaVine, Otto Porter Jr. Not really much. Marketing might be.
Marketing didn't get an extension either, which I wanted to talk about. Marketing, his rookie year, I think he's just finished his 3rd. And rookie year looked good. People were kind of comparing him to Porzingis a little bit, just like massive guys, not as good, but still like probably a better shooter. 2nd year was still kind of decent, a bit of a slump. Last year just fell off a cliff. Like he was almost unplayable for them.
It was pretty bad.
Right now, I don't want to say that he's lost, falling off the cliff lost thing, because I think that's a guy like you just get the shooting going. I think that the coaching carousel there probably got to him.
Yeah.
The lack of cohesion with that team, having Zach LaVine on your team as well, there's so many factors. But I like marketing. I think he bounces back.
It's LaVine's team right now, right? Like he's the main guy, so. I don't know. Like I said, you would think that again the East isn't exactly stacked, especially in that last playoff spot. They might make some waves with some decent coaching, but they're going to need tremendous efforts from.
Wendell Carter Jr. They have too, who's been a bit injured, but also not great. He's been okay.
They lost Bobby Portis, things along that nature. So I don't know.
Chris Dunn's gone, which we talked about.
Chris Dunn's gone. And again, it's one of those situations where Portland the team last year. Maybe I'm thinking.
No, he was on the Knicks last year, 2 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
my apologies. It was
Yeah.
2 years ago. I was wondering, but I remember because he was punching
The
guys
face.
and everything.
Yeah.
All in all, like I said, it's a team that has some talent, but again, they're overall like I can't really see a playoff berth there. So I'm gonna
No, I can't either.
leave it at that. Minnesota should be interesting. You got Russell, you got Karl Anthony Towns is going to be playing with a heavy heart. 7 family members lost to COVID.
7? I thought it was just his mom.
No, 7 family members I read the other day. That's a lot of people. So he's definitely going to be playing with a heavy heart. Will that affect his game? Will that motivate him? I don't know. I remember the first preseason game. They introduced him. He could barely get off the.
I remember that off the chair.
Yeah. So again, is his head in it? I don't know. I mean,
what I've seen, he's looked good. I can't get inside his head, but in terms of on the court, he's looked good.
Yeah,
he's done
again,
on guys still.
You gotta do your job.
Yeah.
It is what it is. He doesn't have the Kardashian curse because technically it's not the.
Was he with one of them?
The whole Tristan Thompson situation, the friend that.
Oh, he was with a friend. I didn't know.
Oh well, again, that I'm always up to the TMZ situations. The one that ended up being Kylie. I forget her name. It was Kylie's best friend that ended up messing around with Tristan, and then they kicked her out of the whole circle.
Okay.
She's pretty famous on herself either way, but she's the one that caused the whole mess between Chloe and Tristan.
Okay.
I'm blanking on the name. Beautiful girl, by the way, but at the end of the day, so that might be another situation with the socialite stuff. I usually ends up playing with some things. That's why I brought it up, was because the Kardashian curse or whatever you want to call it of the basketball players
in Minnesota. But Towns,
Anthony Edwards.
Yes, the top pick, which I want to talk about as well. Right, they have Rubio back now as well.
Yeah, which again is so weird because he gets passed like around behind the
Yeah,
chips.
but at least you have a real point guard now, right? And you can play Russell off the ball. Now Russell is a guy, and Russell's a guy that's hurt. I want to get that out. He's hurt a lot. But with Towns, I remember he missed not last year, the year before. He just shut it down the last 30 games.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I was it didn't seem like it was that bad of an injury. That it might have been a culture thing with the team. If these guys are healthy, they have enough talent to push for an 8th spot, to contend, to get into that playoff that they have at 10th. I believe the teams are in the playoff, for sure. But it's just, defensively, they're going to be terrible. They always are. Karl Anthony Towns has been atrocious defensively. We know Russell's one of the worst guard defenders in the league. Rubio will help for sure. He's one of the better defenders. He's getting up there in age. He's got to be 31, 30, I'm thinking. Other than that, I'm not really sure. Edwards is going to be interesting to see if they give him the ball with the second unit and say, go crazy.
Your boy Malik Beasley. He's another one. He's got to stay. He's got to stay away from Scottie Pippen.
And domestics. I gotta have the respect for these dudes. But they have potential, like I said, to contend for a playoff spot. So are they gonna make it? I don't know. But Edwards, go ahead.
Do you have Edwards being in the Rookie of the Year conversation?
Well, conversation for sure. He went first. Is just
are
they gonna give him enough leash to kind of get those points and at a decent percentage as well? Or are they going to do because RJ, I remember, had a high percentage but shot the ball terribly. Now Edwards has had some questionable shot selection too, but at least we know he can get to the rim. He's athletic enough to dunk on guys. I think his best, in the first year, now that I think about it, James Harden, OKC. When they took him, bring him off the bench, go ham.
Do you get vibes out of Edwards that he might turn into one of those Anthony Bennett,
I knew you were going to say it.
Kwame Brown situations? You don't get that vibe at all. No. So you think he'll still end up being a rather serviceable player? But do you
think he's going to be a bust?
I don't know if it's not that I think a bust based on his skills, but I'm not going to lie that the questionable comments that he made about his love for playing basketball has me believing that at the end of the day that in a couple of years that he might think that, hey, maybe I just want to try out for the NFL because that's his main interest, right? And maybe, again, I don't know what his NFL skills were like or his football skills if he played both sports, but it was just a weird comment. And when guys aren't all in and it's my dream to play in the NBA, to me it's a massive red flag because the drive situation.
And
right?
Another thing I just thought about too, that's not the best locker room in terms of guys because those guys are all, you can say the same about all of them, right? Like Towns, remember Jimmy Butler went in on all those guys.
Yeah, and then
Right? And
Russell,
it's like, you
Russell
guys
had the
wanna
Nick
play.
Young situation, and when he was with the Lakers, yeah, I don't know.
The coach, right? Like the coach just flips on their son. Like I don't know how. Yeah, I feel like that's a
Like I
country
said,
club.
maybe Edwards proves me wrong, and he buys in because again he obviously wants to get paid. And I don't
Talent
know.
wise, I think he's like, and obviously Bennett was talented and all that,
Yeah.
but I think that like Edwards has already showed enough. He's a strong kid. He can shoot the ball decently well, and like I said, he can get to the rim. And just getting to the rim, if you can get in the NBA, there's few guys that can have that skill set to get to the rim and get to free throws, attack a defense. We know that Wiggins doesn't do it.
I mean,
we know that
that's,
like Russell
that's,
doesn't do
that's
it.
the thing, right? Like obviously they've had again Wiggins was technically a Cleveland draft pick, and then they traded him over to Minnie. But again, the Minnesota's had some rough drafts in terms of they missed on a lot. I remember when they passed on Steph for I think it was
Johnny Flynn. Johnny Flynn and Rubio.
Yeah, that's they've had some rough drafts. So again, hopefully they made it was one of those drafts where there wasn't a concrete guy that you thought was going to be off the page. But I mean, I guess time will tell. Atlanta, I loved a lot of what Atlanta did in the offseason. Again, they have him here at 22. I have them fighting for that again in one of those playoff spots. I think Trae Young will take another step. Collins, if you can lay off the PEDs, stay off. No, I don't know. It wasn't weed. It was the
performance
enhancers. But I like the Bogdanovich addition.
Love it. Yeah.
I like the Gallinari addition.
A lot of guys.
I don't know. I don't know why truthfully, why they're ranked so low. To be honest, I would have them more. I would have them ahead of Orlando if I would do the rankings. And overall, like I said, I think they'll be a playoff team, and again, it won't be an easy matchup for if they end up being an 8 seed.
They also picked up Rondo.
And Rondo, that's right. Well, Rondo get often hurt, but he's
still they have Rondo and they have Chris Dunn. Like that's all. So I was
they have a very
they have able bodies.
Yeah, they have a very good depth in terms of the roster. So I'm a little bit surprised that they were ranked this low, but I'm expecting better than 22nd. I'm expecting a playoff situation there. So.
Because I just wanted to go through the guys here. So like these are just guys I'm reading off, and I guess it's most of the guys. Trae Young, obviously. Cam Reddish, who's looked pretty like I've never been a Cam Reddish guy. Take him in fantasy. And you know what I know that it's you take it for granted, but like guys are going to get better as they progress in their careers. Reddish going to his second year, same as Zion and RJ. They're on that same Duke team. I think that he can take that next step. Now you want to talk about misses in the draft? DeAndre Hunter, who they traded up for to take, I want to say it was like 6th or 5th. I don't want to say he's a bust because he can play the game, but like not a guy that you would take 6th overall or whatever. He's already behind Cam Reddish, probably behind Herter, who at one point was getting late comparisons to Klay Thompson. Herter's a shooter, been injured as well. Clint Capella has to have a bounce back after what happened to him in Houston, right? John Collins coming off the steroid abuse. Where like there's a lot of guys. Gallo.
Again,
Bogdan,
they have
talent. The defense, I don't know, but
they have the talent to compete in the situation. And again, it's a team that at the end of the day, if they put it all together, you probably don't want to face them in the first round, even if you're a high seed. But I think they'll be again right there. Next up, so you got the Wizards, who made obviously that massive trade with John Wall for Westbrook. So far from what I've seen from Westbrook in the preseason. Seems to be getting along with his teammates.
He's saying the right things.
Coaching.
He's leading Denny, the guy they drafted.
Then you have the situation. Well, again, you got Westbrook, you got Bradley Beal. We got to see how that coexists. I like Thomas Bryant. I think he's a pretty decent player. Denny, again, is the guy that they drafted. A team that again with Westbrook and Beal, can you ever discount that they'll make it to the playoffs? It's tough out in the East as well, and it's interesting because they'll likely be there with the Hawks in that play. In my opinion, they'll likely be between them two to get in that situation. And again, Westbrook gives you whatever his triple double, his stats that he can't shoot to save his life. But again, in the regular season, that's all well and good. In the playoffs, we see that it doesn't really work out all that well. Again, Beal still again maybe a top 10 scorer in the league. Depending on how you look, he can give you a 30, 40. How is he going to work with Westbrook? Like I said, it wasn't working with John Wall. They tried a new little revamp situation. See how it pans out. But so far, it's been some decent games. And like I said, an 8, 9 seed is probably the ceiling.
I think that it's interesting because like they're going to be in that playoff play in, I guess is what they're
Yeah.
calling it or whatever, right? But Rui is the guy they took last year in the draft, Hachimura
Mhm.
Gonzaga. I want to see what he can do. He was hurt a little bit last year. Didn't look like a star, but hopefully he can be like a glue guy for them. And then Bertans, who they brought back on that
Yes.
massive deal, right? I was gonna say about Westbrook. I think the Westbrook hasn't. Obviously, we know he can't shoot, but I think that when he has been at his best, it's been like pick and roll with Steven Adams his whole career, blow by guys, get that assist. But without shooting that he hasn't really had since Kevin Durant was there with guys like maybe like Cephalosha or whoever else was there, guys that can actually shoot threes. He didn't have that in OKC at any point after those guys left. Now in Washington, you get Bertans, you get Brad Beal. That's already two guys outside of him in the center with Bryant that can at least be a threat to space the floor. So I think that that's going to help him even though he can't shoot. And I think he's going to have a better season.
Shout out to Bertans on the fantasy team. I'm hoping he does well, pal.
And he's going to shoot.
And he
He's
got
not gonna
paid,
make
but
like
again,
5 threes a
he'll
game.
likely be coming off the bench, which again, as long as he gets his minutes, it doesn't
He'll
really
get
matter.
15 points a game easily, yeah.
Like I said, I mean, he's a guy that I have high aspirations for because that's what again I drafted him with a pretty high pick in fantasy based on the fact that he can shoot the ball, and he can fill the stat sheet, so which you need in fantasy at the end of the day. But like I said, it's going to be an interesting team if it can come together. Another team that potentially could be somewhat dangerous, a playoff team that can give you some problems. Moving on, we have for the first time last year they didn't make the playoffs. You get the San Antonio Spurs, another team where this is a make it or break it year for a lot of the guys. You have expiring guys with like DeMar came back, which I was a tad bit surprised. He re-upped for the year, and then you have LaMarcus Aldridge. I think White,
big contract.
Yeah, Derek White, and then Murray. I can't say DeJounte. I was trying to get up to Murray. Again,
Lonnie Walker.
Is it gonna be another year without the playoffs? I would say yes because
they finished strong in the bubble. They just missed like everybody else. But
again, you have Phoenix that got a lot better. You got other teams. You got Memphis,
Pelicans.
The Pelicans. Again, I just don't see enough there. Where that situation pans out into a playoff spot in a tough West. They probably would have to fight off even the Rockets to get in, depending on what the situation is with Harden. Again, just don't see it there. Again, Pop's always been mentioned in other coaching jobs. Maybe it's his last year there. We shall see. But do you have them making the playoffs? Probably not.
As of right now, no. But like I have them in that. If we're including the playoffs in 10th, which I don't know the play-in game, I guess not. Is it because what they did in the bubble last year? It's 10 and 9. Fight for 8 and 7, is it, or they're all fighting for 8 spot?
I was under the impression that 8 and 9 would be the last.
So it's just 8 and 9 fight for the last spot.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. I didn't fill that one out yet, but Derek White, I was going to say, got pretty much the same contract as OG. 4 years, $73 million. He got $1 more million more than OG, right?
And again, he had like what?
He showed promise honestly like 2 years ago. Last year was kind of.
What did he average last year? Like what? 17.
It was 11.
Was it only 11 points? I thought it was only around
11.3 points a game, 3.3 rebounds, 3.5 assists.
And again, he's basically going back and forth with Murray for the starting guard spot. So I guess they might see some potential in him to break out. I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I just don't see enough in terms of that situation, in terms of the playoff run. Orlando, again, similar team to last year. You got Vukovic, you got Gordon.
Isaac's out, probably going to be out for a bit. I'll check out how long he's going to be out, but he had surgery in the bubble, which was like 3 months ago.
Again, a team that to me, again, is still on that 8th seed type of situation. I think the Hawks got better than them, and they'll take them there.
Cole Anthony looks good for Orlando.
He did. He has again, but again, relying on a rookie situation, always something that again, growing pains and things along that nature. Again, 10, 11 maybe. I don't see them making the playoffs. Shout out to former Raptor T. Ross doing his thing. So he gets upset, but he